call the meeting to order. We will start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yes. All right. The board wants to provide ample opportunity for public comment on matters that come before us. Your input is important. If you wish to address an item already on the agenda, we ask that you do so when that item comes up for discussion. If you have a comment on a matter not on the agenda, this is the time during our meeting for such comments. The board would like to remind everyone in attendance that to avoid violations of individual rights of privacy, a member of the public wishing to address the board during this time will not be allowed to make comments about any student, staff member, or member of the general public. Does anyone wish to speak at this time? I'll go ahead and start with our transportation guys. If you guys have items to share.
Okay. This seems to be tire week, I guess. We had to replace all 6 tires on the sped bus. We got done today. And I had to put 2 on bus 5, the steer tire, where one cords were going on, so we got those replaced today also. Bus 3, the cover for the air conditioner that got blown off is supposed to be on its way. So we'll see when that gets here. I do have a temporary fix that I'm going to try to work on tonight, get on there, so we can use the bus this weekend. We have got 4 buses this weekend. I guess that's it.
Thank you.
We did get good life. The sped tires were from 2007, so we got a good life.
Very good. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Oh, here.
We get people here than usual.
Are you good there? You need a chair.
Okay.
Okay. Are you complaining?
Okay, moving on, elementary building project. Shane Swandle wasn't able to stick around tonight. Not a whole lot to report on. Phase 2, basically they're working on the punch list. Different entities will be coming through this week and next week doing those items, identifying the things that need finished up. Still working on some of the HVAC and air control, different issues in the elementary. They're working through those, getting those taken care of and making it so we got heat and temperatures in the right places at the right times. Phase 3, they did pour the footings last week. So this week they are working, forming up the sub walls, probably a better word for it than that. But, so that is moving forward. Playground is open for business. Most people probably saw the kids have been pretty excited to be out on that playground after so long without it. So that was good to see. Yeah. So yeah, not a whole lot to report there, but things are progressing as planned and as intended. Okay. Committee meeting reports. I'll let you take it from there.
Okay. So the safety committee met this January 5th, and we have been making great progress. The PowerPoint is available on the website so that families and staff and other folks can view it. That kind of shows what we've done so far and our next steps. So our next step is on January 30th, our school safety team, which is composed of educators from each building, a paraprofessional, our counselor, school psychologist. We will, and a community expert potentially, or 2, we will meet to go over our emergency operations plan. It's a crisis and response plan in case of any kind of crisis or emergency and steps through what we would do for evacuation and those kinds of things. So we are going to update that, bring it to the safety committee of the board and for review in February, and then hope that the board would adopt that in March, early March. And then the staff would be trained on that new updated plan at the March PIR day. The staff will also be trained in active attacker training by Detective Heverin, who does that training out of MSU for the police department there. And we are really excited to move forward with that. That training replaces what used to be known as active shooter training. That's no longer best practices. So this is a more trauma-informed approach. We also look at threats, potential threats, and how to watch and identify for when a student may be struggling or anybody in that case, and just kind of warning signs to watch for safety in the school. So that will be all about training and safety. And we have a few items of business we'll take care of on that day, but we're excited to get that underway. So then last night we had our strategic planning session that was led by Dr. Scott, and we had a great turnout and made some real progress on reviewing our goals. Would you like to add anything to that, Dr. Scott?
Oh, I guess, thanks everybody for all your hard work last night. That was really good. It was a good crowd. A lot of teachers were there, some community members were there. So I really encourage, additional community members to participate next time. The next meeting, we'll schedule the next meeting at some point later tonight. I'm not sure when. That's up to Jason. But there will be a follow-up email that will be sent out tomorrow. I don't think you're able to get that out today, right?
Correct.
That's it. Yep, tomorrow. So you'll see it tomorrow, follow-up email. And that'll be perfect. And then the next session, we're going to really focus on reviewing our work we did last night, just making sure we're on the same page. Start to think about some points of strengths and concern within our district at that point in the next meeting. And then start to kind of integrate those ideas, those concerns into our goals and kind of move forward and start to kind of pull all this together so that we can start thinking about where we may have, for instance, as an example, performance issues and how we may resolve those through a strategic planning process. So that's anything to add from anybody? That's kind of where we are. So again, thanks to everybody last night for great participation. It was fun.
Yeah, I would like to try and just set that date right now if we can.
I have one ticked.
Go for it.
It's just looking one step ahead of you, Jason. No.
I don't know, my calendar's open too.
I'm looking at, if we stick kind of the same time of the month, February 7th, it's a Tuesday.
We have an insurance
Yeah, we've already
negotiations.
got
Oh, okay, I didn't have
From
that.
6 to 7:30.
I did
How about the
not have that
13th?
On there. Let's see. We have junior high basketball, so that takes
On the
Brad
13th
out.
of February,
Yeah.
I don't have that.
Oh, maybe I'm looking at the wrong date. Never mind, I'm looking at the wrong
February
date.
13th or something.
February 13th is open, so that would be kind of the same as what we did the night before the school board meeting. Is that kind of what we're, the train of thought?
Okay.
Yeah. we
Well,
do that.
yeah.
That gives us 4 weeks out.
Yeah, basically a month.
Basically a month out. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's doable.
So we
Because
decide-
we have to pull a lot of information together and really think about it. And
Looking at the rest
You
of-
work better under pressure, I've seen.
Yeah, that looks good. I'm looking at the rest of the schedule. That's district tournament week, but that wouldn't affect us till about Thursday. So as long as we fit that, it should be good.
So next strategic planning session,
You guys okay with
February
that? That's what you read?
13th,
Yeah. that makes sense.
okay.
and start time 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that'll be every night that week, but
Yeah, it's a long week.
Okay, then on to the next one, the insurance committee.
so we will shop for insurance. We are expecting an increase. You guys have already heard that. So we'll make sure we do some shopping for that, which we are working with providers on right now so we can get To get the actual apples to apples comparison quotes, we have to fill out quite a bit of documentation, have our staff fill some information out, including on themselves and their spouses. We have new staff, so that's necessary this go round. So we will complete that paperwork so we can have comparisons and start negotiations and some topics of that on February 7th. And then the curriculum committee meeting is set for February 28th. At that time, we will have discussions about the most recent curriculum adoptions, and we will look at the full calendar of all of the curriculum programs that we currently have and the date of them and kind of priorities. Also think about things like the content standards that have been revised by OPI or any other major factors that would make us want to consider updating or how we plan that calendar out for curriculum adoption and make sure that we get on a rotation for that based on need. And that's all I have.
Okay, the other one that we missed when we put this together, we have that policy review January 26th.
Yes, I have that down on policy
Okay.
review.
Very good.
Correct.
Okay. Moving on, consent
Okay.
agenda items, approval of minutes and warrants.
I'll move to approve the minutes and warrants as presented.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes and warrants as presented. Is there any discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Now we're going to move things a little different than typical. We're going to do the principals reports next. Christina.
So just a few updates here. Wanted to thank the community and everyone for our baskets. We had a huge success with our baskets this year for a fundraiser. We've never hit over $3,000, and this year they were able to raise $3,743.69. So each grade level has $400 to put into their account, and they use that account for things like their AR parties, little, trinket things that they need for the classrooms, little toy things the kids are, and things like that. So it was a huge success this year. The 21st Century Grant will open up on February 12th. Still waiting to see, they changed things up a little bit, so I'm not quite sure if we'll be able to actually apply for that one yet. Still waiting on that data information from them. I have started on the ESSER grant for spring and summer. There's an opportunity for us to get an after-school program grant for $15,000 for spring and $15,000 for summer. They really want to be focused around math and reading, as well as assist free and reduced families and stuff, so we can keep, right now, everyone who's on free and reduced receives free after-school program care, and then everyone else receives reduced rates, so trying to keep that going. Super Kids training we did, it was actually scheduled and the lady had to call and cancel. She had pneumonia. So that has been bumped to February 7th, 8th, and 9th. So that is for our K through 2 staff. It's the gal's going to come in and just see where everyone is, find out what questions they have, observe the program, just kind of make any kind of corrections, anything that they might need assistance with. So she'll be coming in and observing them for about 45 minutes and then visiting with them for 20 minutes, but she'll be here for 3 days, working with all of those teachers. We are happy to announce that we are bringing the parent-family luncheons back. They have been gone for a few years, so kindergarten is on January 17th and first grade is on January 31st. Normally we have kindergarten in December, but it was a little hectic this year, so we're putting 2 of them in 1 month. So that is open up to families to come in and have lunch with their students and enjoy a little bit of the playground with them. So we're excited to bring that back on. The Sheriff's Department is another one for lunch visits. We're bringing that back on. We've already had one. They came in the first Wednesday. They're going to come in the first Wednesday of each month. They were here the first Wednesday of January, and the kids didn't get much lunch that day. They were pretty excited to have the Sheriff's Department there. So they were up bouncing off the walls within there. That same afternoon, the Sheriff's Department made up their event that they have each year with Santa and Sheriff, where they bring stuffed animals for all the kids. And since that was canceled, it was the day we were shut down, they also hosted that on that first Wednesday. So a huge thank you to them and all their supporters for bringing that into the school again. They gave those stuffed animals to K through 3. And there's a few more if anyone wants a stuffed animal. I've got a few over there, so. Phase 2, excited to have that when we came back. We, right before we before break, we actually moved our music teacher into the new music room. Even though we don't have a garage door on it, the contractors put up a nice plastic barrier for right now. All of us administrators sit and have lunch with music in the background, so it's kind of nice right now, but.
You're singing the sound of music.
Yeah.
We like it.
So we got her moved in there, and we have our library connection, and I know that has been a huge, it's just been so nice, huge for our kids and our staff, where their music's right there, they've got the library connection, they're not outside, we're not trying to maneuver our way around. It's been a really nice addition, really nice. So we're really, really appreciative of that, as well as the commons and how much space. We were, kind of noisy here in the beginning, but now that we've spread out, we don't have it's not as noisy. We were kind of afraid of that noise that from all the students in there, but now that it's opened up, it's actually a lot quieter. So I don't know that we'll need to address anything for noise in there. At least not for K-5. I don't know how you feel, but January 13th, end of semester's coming up. Our 16th is our PIR day. On the 17th is our STEAM night. It is cattle, crops, and country this year. So every K through 5, there'll be 2 events for each grade level based on something around STEAM and something on the theme of cattle, crops, and country. I know we have some class that grade level that will be making thermometers out of like water bottles. We have another one that will be doing milking cows. Another one will be designing and building a barn. So very, wide variety. And we are having baked potato bar for dinner. Huge thank you to Fox Farms. He donated all of the potatoes needed for our dinner as well as potatoes for one of our activities. So, so that was huge, and a huge thank you to them. And then we also sent out invites to a lot of local organizations in the area to also attend. Mrs. Larson was kind enough to give me a list of those that have helped with like our ag event at the end of the year, and so we sent invites to all of those individuals or corporations as well to attend the night and see what we're hoping to help and maybe encourage some students to go in that direction. Maybe, you never know. And then we don't have school on the 28th.
Very good. Any questions for Christina? All right, thank you. Brad?
Something I talked a little bit about last month, but it's just continuing. I mean, the impact gets greater and greater every month as the continued growth we're seeing in the middle school. More students and more services needed, and we're kind of out at the point where we're going to have to add some staff probably to address some of those services that we need. I am expecting a little bit some other students coming at the semester break next week. So that's just going to continue to, that number is going to continue to grow in the middle school. We received 2 new students this week or last week, and we're just seeing it almost weekly where the number continues to swell a little bit. We did get our new lockers in. That was part of our construction. They did that over the break. The company did a good job getting them in a pretty short amount of time without much of a disruption. It did throw some wrenches in the works when we were out of school unexpectedly. We had plans to have students remove those and get all their things. So that the staff, most of the middle school staff came in and helped out with that. Helped the three of us, the four of us get all those out and cleared out and kind of get things taken care of. So I appreciate all their help. It would have been a long job without the teachers coming in on a day that nobody else was coming in. The only issue we have with them at this point, we have a bank that hopefully somewhere along the line we can update in the fifth grade wing that we took over. And then there's some issues with flooring that I think they're making a plan to kind of complete that, get it tied into the flooring. The new lockers aren't the same size as the old ones. But other than that, they look really, really nice. They make a big difference in brightening the place up if you get a chance to go through there. With phase 2 finished, it's helped tremendously. We're still working on some of the routes to and from places, but it has just really helped being able to not have to access the lunchroom and the office through the gym. I know Mr. Hazel's very happy about that. And so one of the things we probably need to do fairly quickly is have some fire drills and some exit drills with, as we open that up. And also my office, after they finish up a couple things over there, I'll move over into that new wing a little closer to the middle school. And then one of the things I've addressed for a couple meetings is we have just a handful of students. When you look at our absence numbers, I think you'd be really surprised at how many of those are a few students that are really adding to those. And we have a handful of students who are just struggling to get to school. A couple have some medical things, and that's fine. We've worked through it with those parents, but we have some that we struggle to get here. I mean, and I don't mean like a day or two a week. We struggle to get them here. And same with behaviors. We have some behaviors. We're taking our behavior code field trip here this month. The next month, we will probably be leaving more kids behind than we ever have, because it's obviously a behavior code field trip, and some of them are not meeting the expectations. And quite honestly, with that, several students, I'm kind of at the point where my interventions have failed. It's going to be time for somebody else to try to intervene in those matters, because it's just getting to the point where it's, we have a few that we cannot continue to operate the way we are with some of the behaviors. So hopefully it doesn't come to that, but just so you're aware of that, we do everything we can to intervene with those students and get them on a plan and get them headed in the right direction. And some of them, we are not seeing the response we would like with multiple students. That's kind of where we are in the middle school. Yeah, it's nice to have the construction where it is now. It helps the flow of everything, which just really helps the school day in general. It's good for everybody.
Well, I was just go ahead. Oh, I was just I thought somebody was gonna say something. I was gonna add, I was over there last week, and thank you for the invite. And Christina, thank you for the invite last week, and I'd mentioned that before, but yeah, with the lockers in the middle school hallway being bright white, it looks really good. Yeah, and then the color schemes, the brightness of the place, it's really nice over there. So I just wanted to mention that as well. The question I had though was around the growth. Did I remember right that all three classes are right at 60 to 70?
Yes.
Do I remember that right?
Yep.
Okay, so
correct. We have one that's just under 60, couple mid 60s.
okay. So, and we can go, and not that it's ideal, but we can, at 6th, 7th, and 8th, according to accreditation standards, 30 per classroom? Is that
Correct.
that's, okay, that's,
And
okay,
we're over in a couple,
okay.
and we'll be
Okay.
probably, and barring, more than likely, we'll be over next year. There's a couple where we cannot add a third in certain areas because of available staffing. And then, and the big factor, we're, as far as meeting this, in most of the core academic classes, we're good. Where we're seeing increased needs for services with some of the, the more students you get, obviously, the more need you have in every area. And so some of our special needs services are growing, and a lot of those kind of things are starting to be impacted. We're having a hard time fulfilling all of the things we need to in those areas. It's where it's really hitting us hard.
So as far as adding growth, then, as you mentioned, I'm sorry, adding staff. As far as adding staff, I assume that was that's typically for the special needs, the demand, the
Yeah,
increased
right
demand
now,
for special
it
needs.
is. We're at a point with some of our physical education and health where we're over the state limits in those areas. And in middle school, there is no adding a para and getting a grace. That's not allowed in middle school. So some of those areas are a challenge because they just present serious scheduling issues too. We've, we've been able to operate with 2 sections of that. PE is required for half of the year for middle schoolers. And, we're good in that area. Somewhere down the line, we will obviously get, and probably the not too distant future, to where we're going to have to add other teachers to that because some of those large bubbles, are moving this way.
You talk about growth, we had new students last week, we have 1 so far this week, and I've got 3 next week that I know of.
And you're pretty at that point or overloaded anyway as well, right?
Not now we have those 2 new teachers, but I mean, our classes are larger. than
Yeah.
normal.
Well, I guess I should rephrase. You have like between 60 and 70 students in most of the grade levels,
Correct.
K through 5, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, 3rd grade is now at 65, like, 66, I'm trying to remember. Yeah. So there's another one hitting that 70 mark again.
And it's 20, if I remember right, it's 20 kids per classroom. Is that,
That's for your younger K.
For the
first.
younger.
Yeah, second
Okay.
20, then it
Okay.
goes up from there. But
okay, thank you very much. Thank you both for those responses on that. I always forget those numbers and things, so thank you very much.
I just showed you the growth. I mean, in
Yeah.
3 weeks, I've got 5 kids.
Yeah,
It's trying to project in our community has always been difficult because we've had some groups in previous years that, there's just not a lot of rhyme or reason to it. We've had some that, boy, we have to add staff, have to add another section. And by the time school rolls around over the summer, you've lost 6 or 8 of those. But, I think our trend, obviously, over the last 3 years has been growth in all of those classes,
We didn't see the losses.
Yeah, we're just not seeing the loss, I think, I think in September's meeting, I told you for the first time ever, usually when you get your numbers start school, you have a handful that relocated over the summer. And, this year, every single student showed up plus some, and that's the first time ever, I don't know that our growth rate will continue at its current pace for much longer, but the trend is definitely on that, as you guys know. On that
well,
upswing.
even if it maintains, it still is problematic.
Yes, yeah.
I can send you guys, I'll send the board an update with our numbers at new semester because that's when some of these new students are coming in. They're waiting for semester. So I'll send you guys an updated count as well as the state max numbers for
Okay.
classroom size.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Another concern, discussion I had last night, was, I believe there's some talk of some of our neighboring district closing their boundaries, having closed enrollment where you have to live within district. We don't lose a lot of students to our district, by choice necessarily. Most of them do it a little bit out of necessity. There's some in the north end whose parents both work in Helena, want their kid to go to Helena, which is reasonable. We lose a few in the south end, and I think, some people, I don't know that they understand, our district doesn't necessarily go all the way to the county line down there. But, there's potentially we could have an influx of students if they were to close those boundaries and not grandfather students in. And who knows what those districts will decide, but that's something to kind of keep on our radar, I think, is there could be a decent influx of students, in a district our size. If you get 10, 15, 20 students, that's a big influx.
And that's probably something that we would see this coming year, do you think?
From what I understand, I don't know that as necessarily factual. I know just from people that have interacted with those districts that's one of the things those districts are considering. Because they're facing the same issues we are of growth, staffing, space. And so, I know that's been batted around as a potential solution for some of those. We don't, on the other hand, get the way our district is built, I think, or the layout of our district, we don't get a lot of out of district students. We have a handful, but.
That's interesting. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you bet. And obviously, as other districts make decisions for spring, that, I think we would have time to plan for things, and who knows how they'll all shake out, but it's a common problem in Western Montana for sure.
Thank you. Any other questions for Brad? Okay, Sherry.
All right. We had actually today our annual January MHSA yearly proposal summary meeting. We have our monthly regional principals meetings, and in January it's been a tradition to bring in all of our APs as well, and then we just get together as a large group. And every year MHSA brings forward different proposals that schools have brought up that they're wanting to petition MHSA for. So really, great meeting. It's always good to get together with all of your colleagues from across our area, and we have a lot of these same conversations, of things that we're all dealing with and trying to get good ideas from each other of how to handle some of those things. But it was very short and sweet. This time we were super lucky. Brian Michelotti, who is now the executive director of MHSA, actually came to our meeting, and that was great. So we had the head guy himself in here with us discussing some of these proposals. There were only 4, honestly, very benign proposals. 2 of them had to deal with different co-oping situations and limiting numbers and co-ops and how that looks in the postseason. There was a proposal on the board too that they could co-op during the regular season, but then they would not allow those students to be coached or participate with that co-op school. They'd have to participate on their own at the state level. This was for individual sports like wrestling and tennis and golf, or not tennis, wrestling, golf, track and field, potentially where it's an individual sport, but those are also team sports in a lot of ways with team scores and that. A lot of discussion around that, like how, that leaves kids, the reasons for co-ops. One of them, the bottom line is we're here to try to provide activities and encourage kids to have things that are good to do or productive to do, and that would really be hard on, say you have one golfer in Sheridan and they're co-oping with a tennis that has a program because Sheridan can't do a program with one golfer, that takes away that opportunity from that kid. And then at the state level, are we just going to say, oh, well, you're a great golfer, but now you don't have a coach, and now you don't have a team, and now, there was some really great conversation around that. It was really nice to have Brian present to give the viewpoints of all of the different sizes, because obviously we're limited to class B and C in our region. I mean, that's what our meeting is for, is that level. So it was good to hear, from AA perspectives and A perspectives, how they're handling some of these co-op situations. And we know areas like the High Line, where there's 2 and 3 schools now having a co-op, so they can provide, good programs for their kids. So that was an interesting conversation. We'll see how that vote goes. The other 2 main ones had to do with doing studies to potentially introduce new activities. One of them is esports. And so basically when the whole state gets together next Monday, in January, next Monday, they're going to vote on these proposals, and they'll either get passed or they'll be declined and it won't pass. So one of them, esports, is becoming a very big thing. I know Joe's brought, we've talked about it several times. We've talked about it at the district level. There's talk. Boulder, Jefferson actually does it as a club, and they have seen some success with it. Obviously there's pros and cons on both ends, but esports is a huge thing across the nation, and it does provide activities and opportunities for kids that don't necessarily fit in other niches for other clubs or sports or athletics. So really interesting conversations around that. That was a very interesting thing to see. And, if it does, this is just to vote on whether MHSA should do a study to see if they would actually bring that on board as an MHSA activity. That's what both of these are, esports and lacrosse. But people were talking about lacrosse kind of like baseball, and that requires a lot of, just the fields, the equipment, and is there enough interest, and there are a lot of lacrosse clubs all over. I know Kevin has, isn't Catherine?
No,
She played rugby.
Oh, rugby, not lacrosse. I confused rugby and
No
lacrosse.
sticks,
That's
same
right.
game, no sticks.
They're both kind of those crazy games,
Way more hitting.
Yeah, there's, and some of the university, I guess, and that was one of my questions today was, I knew like Montana State University has a lacrosse team, but it's not a collegiate sport, it's more of a club, intramural type sport. Yeah, so really interesting conversations about a lot of things. And, it goes back and forth between, it's our goals are to provide kids with a lot of great, productive, rewarding activities and places of belonging and feeling like they have activities to do. That being said, how thin can we spread ourselves as far as, districts and facilities and finances, and then a big, huge thing, especially on the MHSA side of things that concerns officials, just even covering what we have right now, current sports is really difficult to get officials. So lots of discussion about that. I don't know how those votes will go. Our group kind of felt like, it never hurts to dive in, do a study and see what it looks like, and then, see how everybody feels once that is actually consideration. So lots of interesting conversations today. And it was really, I just, wanted to publicly thank Brian for taking the time, because he's a busy man, to come out and talk to us. It was great to have him here. So very good.
Was there any discussion with lacrosse? That's a Native American sport. As far as any tie-in with the Native American schools?
No, actually, that didn't come up at all. That's an interesting thought, though. Yeah, no, actually, that wasn't mentioned at all. So, yeah.
Well, and now with the esports, I guess a couple of things that I would really encourage the really close look at esports. It's really growing a lot. For instance, we at Terrell, we have a club, esports club, and so I would foresee probably scholarships for esports students in a somewhat near future.
They are already existing.
From Carroll?
There are.
But from other
already
schools, not
other
from,
schools,
yeah.
and
Yeah, so we're getting,
there's
so we're starting to see that,
collegiate
yeah.
leagues as well.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
are actually sponsored by the universities. There's a lot of good stuff out there about it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
did quite a bit of research about it. I was very interested in bringing esports to this community. I think there's a lot of benefit to it.
Yeah.
At first, I was a little bit opposed to it, but after doing a little bit of research, I think that there's a lot of benefit to happening, and would be interested in pursuing that at MHSA. brings that along.
And maybe even as a club, perhaps. And I do think it really focuses or lends itself to letting a lot of students participate in sports who would not ordinarily participate.
That was Jefferson's comment, was that, you know, the club they got, I think they had 15 to 20 kids. They're, you know, one of the concerns was, you know, well, how is that going to pull? We're already at some low numbers in some of our programs that are existing and already MHS activities and things like that. Is it going to pull those kids that maybe wouldn't do that into a different direction and again spread ourselves thin? That was one of the things, and you know, really the only input we had was from Jefferson, and said honestly, it's a core group of kids that really aren't doing those other things, but it gives them a place for a sense of belonging. It gives them a place for to have good productive activities to do together after school. They've made it a part of their after school program, and so in order for the kids to do their e-sport activity, they have to have all their homework done. They said those kids are all passing now. There were some really interesting positive benefits from having something like that in, you know, so, and we talk a lot about mental health of students right now and that sense of belonging and having commonalities with other kids so that they can all, you know, do different things. It was really interesting, super interesting conversation. So I have a feeling he didn't really, you know, he can't obviously make the call of whether it's going to pass or not, whether they'll do the study or not, but he felt like there was a lot of interest in the esports. And lacrosse, they were worried about running on the tails of bringing baseball in, and so many schools are struggling to field any kind of baseball team whatsoever just because of the logistics of it, facilities, officials, even some of the bigger areas like Billings, they have it, but I mean, they brought it in, but they aren't doing it because they can't facilitate it. So it's kind of interesting to see. It's a double-edged sword for sure. So we'll see. We'll see how that all shakes out when they vote on Monday. Just another thing that we have coming up, January 24th to 25th, so in a couple of weeks, our CTE programs, Mr. Watson and Mrs. Lockery have brought in CTE OSHA training, and so we'll have a 2-day event here where probably about 20, it says like 25 kids, when I talk to them today, will be interested, are going to go through this program. They bring in an instructor. They come in, they do all of the classes. The kids attend these OSHA training classes for 2 days, and then they become OSHA certified, which is a really great deal for those VOAG and vocational ed kids. And it's a huge deal. So we're opening it up to invite anybody to participate in that on the student level. And that's a really important piece of paper for them to have for future jobs and those sorts of things. So, and just general safety and awareness of all the things that go into OSHA and all of those things. So we're looking forward to that. We'll host that right here at the school during the school day, and those kids will just participate in that training as their 2 days of school. So that'll be good. We haven't done it in a while. We did it a few years ago, but I don't think we have, probably pre-COVID, I'm thinking, and then we haven't had it back for a while, so that'll be good. That'll be really good. There are some upcoming school administrator Montana PDs coming up, just kind of on your radar. The big combined elementary and high school principals conference is January 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, so that's coming up quickly. We do that in Helena, and that's a great professional development for we administrators to tackle some of these issues that we're all talking about right here. We're not the only school having a lot of these growth issues and other things that we're dealing with. So it's always good to get together with all of those folks. And then I again get to participate, if I'm okay to do that, in the educational advocacy up at Washington, D.C. the end of March. So very excited to participate in that again. That's an excellent, also to go to those things and bring back what we learned from those legislative. We meet with our representatives and our senators up there on the Hill and help shed light on things that we're struggling with in education so that we can get those viewpoints and those things that they need to be heard at that level. And it's a great experience. I really got a lot out of it last year, so I'm looking forward to continuing that again this year.
And now that's for principals.
Yes.
Okay, the focus, okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because I think they do something similar for superintendents as well, I believe. I think that was mid-July last year?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because we waved to the superintendents as we were there. There's a group of superintendents being checked in at the,
I'll miss the
through the
close-up
security
kids
check.
by like a weekend. Our close-up kids will be there like the week before. I'm like, I'm gonna miss the close-up kids in DC, but it'll be close. It'll be close, so.
Okay, so-
Just always good experience to get out of our small environment sometimes and see the bigger picture. And it's always it sheds a lot of light on, things that we can bring back and do better here. So it's a good thing. I'm excited to go again. As you guys can see, lots of activities coming up. Some of them have already been touched on, of course. We are obviously right in the throes of all of our winter activities. We have several. If you're looking for an event to come to, we have several back-to-back events in the next 3 weeks. Fridays, Saturdays, Thursday, Fridays, Saturdays. Lots of home wrestling is coming up. So if we haven't had a chance to catch any of the wrestlers yet, they will be here a lot in the month of January. And then, we have the one next week. We have no school Monday and then no school on Friday. And that's just another good reminder. We are going to put reminders out there for all of our parents. So because we're hosting the big BC duels here for Friday and Saturday, and that encompasses the entire high school. It's crazy, but it was really fun. So looking forward to all of that. Speech and drama had their home meet. It was a great success. Our speech and drama kids took home the first place trophy for the drama team. We honored our seniors like we do for their final senior event and at our school. And so that was really fun. That was fun to watch those kids. We had like 219 high school speech and drama kids here last Saturday. It was crazy. We filled the entire campus. We had kids everywhere, but it went really well. No major problems. And kudos to Denise and Allie Lampman for organizing all of that. And they did well. So they'll be cruising into the end of their season here pretty soon as well. We are having, just kind of highlight, the student council is going to bring its very first blood drive here to the school as a community service project. So we're excited for that. That'll be on January 31st. And then pretty soon we'll have the wrestlers headed to divisionals and postseason here we come. So it's going to be a busy couple of months.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions for Sherry?
All right, so we've already touched on most everything. So just a couple of highlights. I recently sent out a letter to all the families. I did remind them about the school closure dates, but the 16th is because of PIR Day, and we are really excited about that. We've also been working with our local papers to make sure that it's posted, that there's an opportunity for the community to attend that afternoon, early evening, from 3:30 to 4:30. Levi Horn, an incredible person and motivational speaker. He played for the U of M and he played for the NFL football player, and his message is just super powerful. We're excited to get to bring him here to Townsend and hope that as many students and families and community members as possible will come listen to that. I know we were all very moved by it. He'll be working with the staff for the afternoon that day as part of their training on worksite wellness and just how you can make a difference in students' lives and how you can work together as a team, and mental health and trauma-informed care. A lot of great things he brings to the table. And the staff has been asking for differentiated instruction, so more training on ideas and strategies on how they can work to meet the needs of all the individual students and personalities, especially if they have that larger classroom full of them. So we are bringing in Strive, who has experts at those different grade bands, to present that information. So we'll have a really great day full of training for the staff on the 16th. And then, like Christina said, we have the family night also on the 17th, and her and I will serve the elementary teachers dinner, so that will be fun. I've been working with Casey and Pam on a budget update for the board, so look forward to bringing that to you guys soon to kind of take a look at what the budget that we adopted and where we are according to our projections. Obviously, we've had changes with additional teachers and different things like that. So just want to give the board a budget update, and things are looking good. So I want to share that information with you. We're on track. So that's looking good. And then also we'll share vacancy information and updates on that. And we're continually working on cleaning up, and our safety plans that's also included as part of our safety plans. So with the construction and kind of cleaning out of storage areas and moving people around, it seems to be continual, but we were trying really hard to have that back hallway cleaned out by Thursday when everyone comes for basketball. So that's a goal that we have. And we're working on, the protocols and processes for the doors. We have the new door lock system at the high school, which is really important, and trying to get everybody trained into making sure we're not propping doors open and all of those different components. And like we talked about, working on the safety plans. So those are some of the main focuses right now. I will be attending the Board of Public Education at the end of the week, and I will be taking a long weekend vacation at the end of the month, and Mr. Rock has agreed to be on standby. So those are my highlights.
I was just gonna ask about the high school door. How was that? I was over there and we were standing there, Joe and I were standing there, and somebody was, checking, buzzed in and stuff. Overall, how's that? It's such a change. It hasn't, it hasn't been that way forever, right? How's it working out?
There's a lot of kinks to work out. So like I said, we have to put some protocols and processes into place. So Sherry hung up some signs, and we're working on some training with all of the secretaries on, how we talk to those folks when they come to the buzzer. The site assessment that we had and the sheriffs when they came both expressed, the importance of trying to buzz in as little people as possible. So if they just need something, if we can bring it to them in there, and then we have less visitors in the building, that is, the best plan. Or if they're there to see maintenance, to call maintenance down to greet them and bring them in with them, that kind of thing. So we're still working out the protocols and processes for that.
Well, I think it's a great thing and
We
long
really
overdue.
needed it. Yes.
And so I was glad to see that. I was just curious how
Yeah,
it's sorting out.
lunchtime is still,
And we're working with the sheriff's
Confusion.
department too for suggestions on that. I saw
Yeah.
Sheriff Rouser the other day and said, okay, we need help with this. These are some of our touchy areas. Do you have ideas, suggestions? What are other schools doing? I mean, so it was good. We have a lot of good dialogue on that. We will hopefully have some resolutions quickly. It's not perfect right now, but it's, unfortunately, it's the world we live in, and, we actually have kind of a scared today. So it definitely, when we get it all going and ready, and nothing major, but I mean, just, it's gonna be important. And as soon as we get it streamlined, it'll be a good thing. So, yeah, poor Wanda, it's a new learning curve for, we don't have 3 people in the office like they have in the elementary. We just have her and I, and then obviously I'm not available 24/7 to buzz people in or answer the door. Neither is she. She's got a lot of other duties. So we're working on that. We don't have a window, so we have to go to the screen and see who's out there. So far, the equipment's working fairly. We have one little hitch in our get-along that we discovered that we have to fix on some of that, but not bad, actually. And once we get it figured out, obviously there's going to be certain times where it's going to be a lot heavier. The morning is crazy. And I try to stay and help her in the morning so that there's 2 of us there when I can. So, yeah, we'll get it figured out.
Yeah, and you will. And I was just curious if when there isn't anybody available to let somebody in who's buzzed, is there like a number on the door for the person to call?
That's actually a really good idea.
yeah, that's what we talked about doing for summer, is that's what they're gonna have to do, is call down, because Casey and I will be the only ones, here in the office. this
Maybe
summer.
year round. It might work out year round. I know that we do that of course, until all the buildings are locked down, right?
Right.
And so there's, the number to call just in case, but we have a regular security group there. It was just an idea, just a thought that might,
Those high school kids are hustling a lot better in the morning. They're getting in that
Good,
building.
good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I like this.
and again, with the phone number, the contacts, just a thought that might help it work out.
I think
Yeah,
it's making folks be more mindful too, in a positive way, that, if you do need to come to the school for something, there's gonna be a protocol, and maybe it's a better idea to kind of pre-plan when you can. I mean, obviously, not every situation is that way, but, it does help, and if we're expecting folks to come, that makes it a lot easier, quicker, faster, streamlined, and I think people will catch on to that as well. Obviously, there's gonna be times when people just have to show up there, and that's fine, we'll take care of it as that arises, but.
Well, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Moving on into the action items. Approve the junior high golf program.
I didn't pass these out. Is anyone missing a, you guys.
And Dan, I don't know, you might want to see.
I'm sorry.
No, big one.
No worries. We're used to getting stuff when we get here. It's all good. Things change quickly. You're welcome.
All right, so junior high golf. You guys have already visited with Mr. Hazlett in the past, and we've been talking about it for quite a bit. I know you wanted some more detailed information. It would be boys and girls, 6th, 7th, and 8th. And there are 2 to 3, possibly 4 trips. We host 1 tournament, or do you want to come up, Dan, and use the right lingo for me?
I think it's about the same I've said, but it's on there. The proposal we talked about would be, first and foremost, I guess, making it official as far as, insurance is concerned, and bus trips is the main one, first thing. And right now, I know 2 probably for sure, and maybe 3 I'm putting on there. But buses, kids, I guess just being a program and having transportation that way. And then the second request was, based on our numbers, at least 2 coaching stipends starting at whatever, she has the salaries on there for first year junior high coaches. So based on our numbers and projections, like I think I was here September, I believe, something I'm extremely passionate about and kind of want to see push forward, and hopefully just requesting the tools to continue to be more successful in this program. So I think it's all on there. Any questions, please, but I know I kind of rushed through that, but based on our numbers and as people are saying, we're getting bigger, so it's definitely, I think it's a need, and I think it's something that would be really positive, another thing for kids to do, and especially kind of drawing into a 6th grade crowd as well, because I know there's not too many opportunities for them as 6th graders to do that. And I guess I'm requesting.
What do you do for equipment? Do all kids have to provide their own, or is there
We
equipment?
recommend that, but over the last 4 or 5 years, I've been lucky in this community to have donations and going out there and finding that. So we do that. Haven't fundraised yet or anything like that. A lot of people volunteering with golf balls and with clubs. We get fortunate. I've had 3 or 4 extra sets that I've had. I'm giving them. We're trying to find anything we can. The golf course had a great donation last year, and Coach and I kind of picked through. So we have clubs, but I think that would be something, if this was approved on the list, to try to find some future stuff for kids as well, because to continue to find clubs is not easy, and lefties and everything, it gets a little complicated, but we've been fortunate that way to donations of past golfers and people like that. So
Every year we have this as part of our summer camps, and it's always well attended. He does a 2nd, 3rd grade group and a 4th, 5th grade group, and it's always well attended as well.
The other positive things are, when we encompass that into our district at that, then we look at, holding those kids accountable for, their grades and eligibility and different things that falls under that, getting those kids ready for coming up to upper junior high and high school, obviously, where those will be definite things that they have to deal with. And as we all know, junior high programs are the feeder programs for high school programs. And, our numbers have decreased in golf over the past few years, and for a lot of reasons. We're seeing that ebb and flow, COVID and different things like that too. So I don't know, if we have a group of young people that we can
Yeah, we're trying.
coach on through to our high school programs and keep those high school programs strong, that's always a positive too.
And the bus thing for me, and the last 2 years, kind of turning it into a club without any funding and just calling on so many parents and the logistical, I don't want to use the word nightmare, but, driving 24 kids and having, a certain amount of parents do that and what could happen on the road and all these things is just, to have a bus at least to bring these kids to the tournament would just be a godsend. It'd be awesome. So it would be nice.
I move to approve the junior high golf program.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the junior high golf program. Is there any discussion?
I have a question.
Okay, I have one quick question.
Okay.
I know you mentioned it earlier. Who is the other coach?
Jesse Swenson is his name. He's been with me for, I think, 6 years now. And definitely through the hiring process, would love to have him. He's an amazing asset.
He also helps with the summer.
Yeah, he's helped with all the kids and he's our board president out there for the golf course too. So
So he's had background checks and everything right now.
very good one to have. So
My second question, and I don't know, you may not be able to answer it, maybe more for Odell, but, looking at the list of schools, there's only one of our other technically 5B partners in that. Do you know if our other 5B schools are considering this as well?
I don't. And it's something I really am passionate to push through. And the local schools from Manhattan Christian, Three Forks and us, and now Livingston, Absorki comes in. And I feel Manhattan has been here before as well. So they're another one too. And I know Boulder with high school program and everything, I think it's just a matter of reaching out and hopefully finding someone. And I really think it could, in my opinion, take off. I really do. And it's kind of already there. So.
Very good, thank you. Brett.
Well, I'd just like to, when I brought up the activities committee, for the record, I'm 100% for this program. I think it's a great program and I have no objection to it. I just do think at some point there needs to be some clarification and rationale as to why some sports are 6-8, some are not available to sixth graders, some are 5-8. And I just think that needs to be something that is formally addressed at some point.
Consistency.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but no, I think it's a good program and I would certainly think it benefits our students.
So I was looking that.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was looking that up after you mentioned that. Basically, wrestling's the only one 5-8. Is that correct?
Whatever they go to, I know they do 6. Some years it's lower, some years it's.
So, and then this one would be 6-8, and all the others are just 7-8.
Cross country is available 6-8.
Mm.
I would imagine some of them, for example, football, it might be the size of a student, a 5th grader versus, a 6th grader versus a 7th and 8th grade. I don't know,
We have outside groups that do that.
Yes.
We have that available in other
The
sports
bad,
though that we
yeah.
offer too.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
that's not a
Not
legit
necessarily
rationale.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
seems we need to be
No, I'm just
consistent.
saying the consistency,
Yeah.
we have some that are
Right.
outside, some are in, that's what I'm
Right.
saying, the consistency, yeah.
But, on the other side, maybe we don't need to be consistent. Maybe there's certain sports that lean themselves to it being easier to incorporate the 6th graders and it's an opportunity for them. I don't know.
Yeah, I just think there needs to be a rationale that you can get. I mean,
A reason
parents
why
ask
we do it.
people on it and you go, I don't know. They said you
We'd
can't.
have to ask people who run the program,
You said you
because
can't
it's probably,
Because we
equipment,
said so.
time, numbers.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
probably a lot
I
of
think
things that
all
go
those
into
are-
that,
Yeah, I just think we need,
It's worth the investigation.
I just think we need an answer to give people as to why instead of, well, I don't know.
It's just the way it is.
How we do it.
Because Brad said, that's why.
Brett.
Yeah, so thank you for that. I guess that would be a activities committee agenda item probably for near
Okay.
future. Any other discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Thank you for your time, Mr. Hazel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for coming, Dan.
Okay, ELC program, staff stipends for disinfecting.
Okay, so we received the ELC grant through DPHHS round 3 for $99,500. And one of the things I wrote into that grant was to give a stipend for some staff that have had to go above and beyond with their duties and or workload because of COVID impact, which was one of the allowable expenditures under the grant guidelines. So I would like to give this $800 stipend to the 19 employees that I identified. That includes our kitchen staff who we have not been able to hire because, we went a long time without being able to hire, and we had them step up and still fulfill our full breakfast and lunch program and basically just work twice as hard. So I'd like to honor that, and also all the extra disinfecting and cleaning that they've done throughout. They have not received a stipend last year. And then also our custodial staff, same thing. They've been short-staffed, working very hard and doing additional cleaning. So I wanted to include them in that, and the office staff who have had a revolving door on their sick room and do not have a nurse and have cleaned up all kinds of things I would have a hard time doing. So those were the groups. I don't think I'm missing anybody. And our technology team, because of all the extra work that they've done with emergency notices and putting things on and off the website and all of that. And those groups did not receive a stipend last year. Paraprofessionals and bus drivers did. So and it was approved in the grant. The cost to the district, that approximation is there. I did have Pam double check that for me.
I'll move to approve the ELC stipends.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the ELC stipends as presented. Is there any discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Commercial lease for the wrestling room.
The annual lease for the wrestling room is due for renewal, and it is in your packet. That's all I have to say about that.
It's for the training room facility for the practice.
That's,
At the train station.
Train
That's
station,
okay.
yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
it's the same as last year. I didn't know.
Highlighted portions on the second page. About, looks like cleaning protocols. Are those meant to be there? Is it just a case of landlords highlighting a new section in the lease? What was?
Yes, you're correct.
Since this is kind of my wheelhouse, the only thing I would say is there are a couple inconsistent terms in the lease. Term of the lease, which is the kind of the third section of the lease, talks about it being, it begins on January 1st and it terminates on, with a 30-day notice. That's actually inconsistent with the renewal terms that are on the top of the second page, which says that it's a 1-year term and that renewals are based on a 60-day notice to either party. So if the lessors are willing to entertain a couple of these things that remove some inconsistencies and some add some clarity to the agreement, I would be willing to note those and provide some language. Actually, I think just the moving some of the 1 year terminology from the renewal into the term of the lease and saying that except as otherwise provided, the lease renews on a 1 year cycle and,
Yeah, I saw that.
providing the notice period under the lease, that part of it's fine. Couple other clarifying questions. I mean, they asked for, certain types of insurance to be covered. They say that, on first page, kind of toward second sentence from the bottom, talks about tenant shall maintain insurance which landlord may reasonably require for the protection of the landlord's interest in property. My experience has shown me having a stated dollar value in, are we talking about minimum per occurrence aggregate, having, umbrella policy coverage type things. We need to coordinate. I mean, there's a couple of questions we should ask from our insurance carrier, make sure that we've got adequate coverage. I would imagine that we do, but specify, if it's, like I say, a per occurrence or an aggregate insurance amount. That there isn't anything that I don't think is substantively fatal. And I think that we could probably, if the board were willing to approve the renewal of the lease with some amendments, to clarify issues of insurance and renewal and say access. I've got a couple of comments on access that I think it would be something that we could put together very easily. Having a Word document would probably be the easiest way if they provided it to you that way. If not, we could take whatever version of it's PDF or something like that. We could convert that document, provide some redlining changes that, we could offer up to them. We could probably get that done in the next day or two.
Okay, yeah, you bet. That I noticed, I read the first part of the terms, but I guess I didn't realize it was twice.
It's occupational hazard. So.
Yes, didn't even stand out to me. Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
I will do that.
Yeah.
This has been a great partnership that we have. I mean, it's just been fantastic.
Yeah.
It's been fantastic, and thank heavens, because I'm not sure where the wrestlers would go. Oh, boy.
Yeah, and obviously,
What's that? Yeah.
these kinds of things aren't meant for
Yeah.
anybody to get an upper hand or anything
Oh,
like
no.
that, or to change terms of the agreement. It's
Just to clarify.
removing clarity and binding agreements is a good thing, so.
Oh, that's good.
Well, I would move to approve the commercial lease with the discussed amendments for the wrestling room. Is that appropriate? Does that cover it?
That would be fine, yes. I would second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the commercial lease for the wrestling room with the stated amendments. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Clerk contract for Casey Williams.
So this has already been discussed and she has been hired. However, the contract was revised and finalized, so it's before you again. And I recommend you approve the contract. And thank Todd and Jason for their assistance on it.
Yeah, we approved it. We approved the hire pending contract negotiations. So that contract negotiations took place in December and is before you.
I would just add, the negotiations committee asked our legal representation for some help in putting together an agreement because the past agreement that we had was fortunately unclear in areas that you don't like to have contract's unclear in terms of direct reporting and hours and just kind of general status of the, the clerk. And so we had our attorney provide us with an agreement, and thank you to Casey. It was productive, couple sessions, and we worked through things, and I actually feel very good about that, and appreciate Jason's time and collaboration on that as well. And we actually used that substantive agreement format for the contract with the next contract that we'll be discussing as well. And so it gives a little bit of consistency and predictability and things like that. Something that we'll be able to use in the future, if we, it comes to that. So, Mr. Chairman, with that, I would move we approve the contract with Casey Williams.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the contract for Casey Williams. Is there any discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Contract for Pam Watson.
Okay, so the same thing goes for Pam Watson. Super excited to have her on board. We have a great team down in the office, and we hired her, and her and Casey have been making great progress, and her contract went through the same process. And if you would approve it tonight, we will be ready to move on.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, likewise, like I say, this agreement is patterned off of the agreement we were provided by our legal counsel. This one is probably recall we had discussed approving Pam to come in for a period up to a year. This agreement runs through the remainder of this school year. And then I suppose just for the sake of consistency and renewal of other contracts, this one runs a little bit shorter, but will actually be subject to renewal on the same schedule, so we don't have a one-off that we can take care of all of our outstanding contracts for renewal at that time. So that is reflected in the term of that agreement. So, Mr. Chairman, I would also move that we approve the employment agreement with Pam Watson as presented.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the contract for Pam Watson. Is there any discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Personnel, we have some resignations.
Yeah, so our elementary secretary, Allison Fiera, has, did I say it incorrectly? Ferreira, thank you. I can never say it right. Still has regretfully resigned. We have really loved her warmth and energy in the elementary office. It's a hard one to lose. I get calls and complimenting her regularly, but she got an offer she couldn't turn down, and we couldn't compete with. So we're sad to see her go. So I will regretfully recommend her resignation be approved. And then also we have golf coaches Amy White and Lindsay Moldenhauer, and we have their resignation email. There are some others.
Do you mean tennis coaches?
Golf. Tennis.
We
We
were
were talking
talking
too much
about
about tennis coaches, and they shared a position previously, but will not be able to this year. And we have some other folks that are interested. So if we could get approval of
Could you say the names again?
Amy White and Lindsay Moldenhauer.
Okay, I move to approve the resignations of Allison Ferreira, Amy White, and Lindsay Moldenhauer.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the resignations for Allison Ferreira and assistant tennis coaches Amy White and Lindsay Moldenhauer. Is there any discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Employment.
So Stephen Nelson is currently a playground aide and has been a lifesaver. He's pretty incredible out there. And in between recesses has also offered and kept himself busy by supporting students in need and helping teachers out. And so we would like to pay him for that as a part-time paraprofessional. I do have to tell you a funny story too. Well, there's actually quite a few already for Mr. Nelson, but my most recent one was while I was serving dinner at the senior center the other night. His wife was very thankful and gave me a lot of thanks for having put him to work and out of her hair since he retired. So it was really cute. And then his card playing buddies were begging that we consider letting him off at 1 o'clock on Fridays so he could get back to his card playing group that they have. But I told him that Christina probably wouldn't let that happen. So
He's phenomenal with our kids. He's great.
he's really great with the kids and holds the fort down on the playground and all over. So
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the hire of Steve Nelson as part-time paraprofessional.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to hire Steve Nelson as a part-time professional. Is there any discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. The policy review, which we touched on already. I don't know.
yep. So Chris Goss will be back January 26th which is hopefully our final session of policy review
It's kind of like strategic planning.
at 5:30.
Right, yeah, I know.
Really looking forward, and we paid our dues for our online platform so that when that session concludes, he will have all of our policies combined and online and accessible for staff and families, which will be awesome.
Now remind me, did we, how was, it seems like we paid for the service and we pay a due. What was that structure? I completely forgot. And we did, because we're not using the service until soon.
Basically, there'll be a subscription-based
Did
upkeep to keep the system going. The policies.
we have to pay to buy in?
So we
Initially?
paid for the policy review process with
Okay.
Chris.
Right, right.
And then we have the subscription for the online portion, which we just sent the bill off so that when this meeting concludes, we will be online.
Oh, okay.
And then we have our membership fee annually also.
Right.
This
Yeah.
is just for the hosting.
This is the hosting part. Yeah, right. That's what I was.
Annual.
It was 1,600 some ish.
1680.
1,650.
There you go. You guys are so glad you approved that contract.
Hey, if you can memorize numbers and just wheel them off the top of your head, that's great.
My issues. So it's gonna be pretty good for me.
Well, and that, what was it, 1615?
No, 1,650.
1650. That 1650 will pay for itself in months. From cost savings with just being more efficient and having the
And
information
the
out there.
access.
And the access to it, yeah.
Current access, so we don't
Yeah.
have outdated policies.
It builds, you can do full text searches.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah, the cost savings around that, it's an easy win, or it's an easy decision, whatever.
Yep, it'll be great. I'm really looking forward to it.
Very good. Anything else? Okay. The next item on the agenda is the annual superintendent evaluation. I have determined that the next matter to come before the board for consideration involves a matter of individual privacy. Further, the demands of individual privacy in this matter clearly exceed the merits of public disclosure. Therefore, I'm declaring this portion of the meeting will be closed in accordance with section 2-3-203-3 MCA. So we will take a brief pause while we clear the room. And I would like to thank everybody that came to the meeting tonight. We appreciate your attendance, and we'll do the same thing again next month. Thank you.
I would say the navigation around that assembly site is a little hinky, but hinky is better than not available.